What do you do when you get a client? How do you start? How do you know where to start? In the overwhelming amount of options available to you to pull on with a client, which area of health do you start with first? This is something I've talked about with a lot of you. Sarah, you come to mind, and it can be a bit of an overwhelming question unless you have a system. While Kiara's been a coach for 2 and a bit years, she's developing the experience and skill of someone double, maybe even triple her age from an experience perspective. And so we worked together, and I really trusted her to help me put both our brains together and answer the question is, how do you think like a practitioner, like a high performance health coach? What are the mental models and the decisions and decision-making frameworks that we need to give you to know what to do when you're presented with all types of varied client challenges? How do you know what to do and where to best to start? We're going to work on solving that problem today. This presentation took a lot of brain power. It was really challenging for both of us to understand and summarize all of these years of coaching and science and like where best to start. But by the end of it, you should feel like you have a good framework that you can always lean on. And we'll have a practical at the end that we can do as an assignment. Is there anything you'd like to add, Kiara?
No.
Let's rock. I'll share my screen. You might be able to control it, hopefully. See what happens. By the way, if you ever miss anything in these presentations and you get a bit lost, there's the AI feature, AI Companion. You can actually ask it questions and it will tell you. This was actually me doing the presentation. Look like. All right. What you will learn, do. Get a reliable system to help you decide where to start with your clients, how to think when symptoms are really messy, often they are, how to prioritize when there are multiple fires to put out. When something doesn't respond, how to not panic. Here's the problem. There's a big problem within coaching. You know, protocols, like we have them in Zion. Cool. A lot of coaches are dependent on them. Follow these set of supplements. And you actually don't know what's working, why it's working, and the underlying systems behind it. That's a problem. It can be quite overwhelming when you don't know what to do, when there's so much information and so much optionality out there. That you're a hospital, and the analogy is, how do you triage your patients when they come in, your clients when they come in from as a priority? It's like, how do you triage like this problem versus this problem versus this problem? This will develop. You're not going to walk away with like knowing how to do that really well right now because that takes years to build. You get better at it over time, but we'll get started with being able to do it better. And a big one, ambiguity. It's like how to operate within uncertainty. We'll walk through that. There's a lot of uncertainty when you work with clients, and how to not overcomplicate things when there's so many things to do. So the plan is a clear order of operations of like how to think and showing you what's called like systems level thinking, which will be explained in a second. So I'll get Kiara to speak on this in a moment because I think she can very well. And the number one thing that I'd like you guys to accept and understand is that most of your decisions as a health professional, as a coach, are going to be made with incomplete information. You're not going to be fully confident, 100%, and there will probably always be more questions. Kiara, would you like to elaborate on this from your perspective for a moment?
Yeah, it can be like really overwhelming when you're trying to look at someone's blood work and you don't know, like you can't really come to a concrete solution or reason for why something is happening with their health. And so when you're approaching someone's health, the case of their health, you need to just really look at it through more of like an investigative lens, like you're a little detective and you're just trying to put the clues together. And you're not going to, like, you probably won't feel 100% confident ever, but you just need to, I guess, accept that and know that you're doing the best you can with the tools that you have, and you're more operating in the gray area, like this might be the case, or this is looking like, rather than this is.
Great. And actually, I updated this. Let me grab the updated one. This is a really nice diagram that we made, but I would actually like to show you. Oh, you know what, Kiara, do you mind sharing a viewable link? So we'll share the presentation with you guys so you can follow along. Do you mind sharing a viewable link for them in the chat? Well, I got to fix that a little bit later. Okay, let me just give you my Canva one. All right, the yellow. Does some of you sometimes feel like you want to be like 100% in the yellow? Like I want to be really sure. I want to be like 100% sure or close to it. We need to manage your expectations that in science, you're always dealing with degrees of probability and always with incomplete information. It's very rare that I'm like 100% on something. I'm almost never, because it's just how I think, and I don't allow myself to think like that because we're doing our best on degrees of probability, degrees of confidence. And so we want to show you this to give you more confidence, and it's okay if you're a little bit uncertain. That's where you need to be rigorous in your practice. You need to ask questions. You need to walk carefully with the interventions you're suggesting. So it's okay to live in the 60, 70, 80% sure. In fact, that's where a lot of great practitioners and health professionals live. It's normal. If we can allow you to feel this normality, we feel that you will be able to help more people faster with being less hard on yourself, less unfair expectations. Questions, thoughts, comments? Okay, thank you, Fez. Now, nice, you added the identity and belief. This right here is going to be the crux of this presentation today. I'd like you to copy this image into your notes. I'm just going to get rid of that. This is not a made-up pyramid it is made up, we made it up. But it is not made up in the sense of just going off our own clinical experience. After looking, you have to think, how do we know what to start with? And this answers it. We're going to break down every foundation, 4 foundations within this. This comes from a combination of clinical experience of both of us. This comes from models that have been used in medicine and naturopathy and studied in like, how do they think? What's the industry level thinking towards working with patients? So we've combined that together and we've used and refined it. I'm going to let Kiara explain number 1 because I think it hits very close to home for her.
Yeah, so first is that we want to really meet someone where they're at in their health journey. And oftentimes they're in almost a state of crisis because things are just so difficult and challenging to deal with. And then the most basic things like sleep or boundaries, exercise, hydration are not being accounted for, or they're just not optimized in a way that actually suits the person's lifestyle. So we really need to focus in the first phase of dealing with someone, just really getting them, just like putting the fires out, just calming everything down and making sure that their nervous system is in a space where they can actually start to implement the suggestions you're giving. Because if they're just surviving day to day, like there's no way they're gonna start tracking their food or like go through a blood test and then do a whole protocol. It's like they're just like trying to survive every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just need to really stabilize them, make sure they're actually receptive to your suggestions.
Yes. I love that title, Saad and Kiara's Hierarchy of Operations. Yeah. Thank you, Christian. You partly triggered the inspiration seed of this when I called you. So some recognition to you. The temptation you guys will have will be start higher up in the hierarchy. You could talk supplements. Diet is important for sure, obviously, and sleep is important. Actually, sleep's number 1. Number 2, number 3 is going to be tempting. But number 1, without a shadow of a doubt, the majority of the time, there are exceptions, is going to be where you should start first with most people. Number 2, energy balance, micronutrients, blood sugar, gut. Adherence, we actually put in number 2. I spoke to Kiara about this. Adherence could be argued as number 1, but why we think adherence could be number 2 is because, well, it could be number 1, but people coming to you in a semi-emergency, they're coming to you reactive. They're coming to you at usually their worst. People don't get coaching when they feel great. Usually, there's the optimizers, but not usually. And so we need to get their body out of this alarm response first. Then we go up the chain to optimize. This is where we go a little bit deeper into understanding understanding body systems, what is happening at the level of the gut, what is happening at the level of the thyroid, and this will then connect to level 4, which is our testing, our blood testing, our detoxification, our protocols that go more intensely towards addressing the root cause of an issue. But before we address the root cause of an issue, we want to create an environment with our clients that allow that root cause to be addressed more effectively. Think about it like a terrain. Let me stop sharing. Think about it like terrain in a soil. And number one is your soil. Number one is we're making sure the soil is healthy first and we're getting out the weeds first. I would like to speak on one very important piece here that we put underneath: identity and belief. Side by side. I'd like to present it like this. Thank you. Identity and belief. You guys had clients, or even yourself, who have not even believed or been skeptical that it's possible to improve their health, or they speak really negatively about themselves, or their identity is wrapped up in their suffering, pain, or health condition. I was looking through Charlie O'Halloran's gut school, and I typed in Crohn's to see if he had anything on it for you, Georgia, but he didn't. But I saw 5 people who put in their bio Crohn's survivor. I'd suffer with, like, the identity was so strong that they had put their bio on a social media platform with their disease. An identity attached to suffering, pain, and a health condition usually only serves to worsen the condition you're trying to improve. So with your clients, it's incredibly important that you learn a better skill set with psychology to help them unwind that. Identity and belief will underpin all of this. Because if they don't even believe it's possible, you must first give them the belief. How much, Georgia, how much do you feel that from me, like instilling that to you?
You're probably the first person to work on that with me. Like, some of the things we've done so far, it's probably been, the first person. Most of the people I've seen have been like your doctors, your gastroenterologists, your GPs, all like seen a lot of people. And most of them don't really work on this stuff. It's pretty much just like pills, medications. Here's a symptom, let's fix it with this. So
Right.
yeah, there's not a lot of that in there.
We're in the early stages, but how has that been?
Yeah, so far it's good. It's definitely a challenge for me, because I have had, I guess, that identity there for so long.
Yeah.
I try not to associate myself with that at the same time, but it's still very much ingrained for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, this
Yeah.
has been since I was 9, so it's
Right.
been a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a great example. So a lot of your clients, guys that come to you, will have been going through hard things for a long time. And you can do incredible work by improving their relationship to their own suffering. All right. Kiara, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think it is really important to work on this with your clients, because otherwise it can sort of lead to, I guess, them sort of throwing their hands up when things don't go the way you expect. And there's like a bit of bumpy progress. But if they have the belief that they can heal, then they're going to keep trying even when things aren't so clean in the journey. So yeah, it's even from like an adherence perspective really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be nocebo from the start.
100%. 100%. So we asked a good question. What's one question you could position to a client whose identity is married to their suffering? I'm always struggling with this so much that they don't even acknowledge their progress because they're okay. Ooh. I can see you typing, Kiara. I think you can respond. Just do voice.
Oh, I'm not typing.
Oh, you're not? My
No.
bad. That's my bad. I thought I saw the thing. Okay. I'm always struggling with X. All right. One piece I would go to is education on self-talk is really important. So there's a few lenses. One is you go, do they even understand what placebo and nocebo is? I'd try and use a relatable example in their life, something they do well. You know how you say that really well? And I'd give an example of, like, I'd figure out what this woman does. What does she do for a living?
She's working on gym reception and building up her clients at the moment. She's just started PT.
She's a coach.
Yeah.
Perfect. I can work with that. And she's saying, I'm always struggling with, give me the X. What's the X?
Bloating, body image issues, relationship with food.
And your problem for you is that she's not even acknowledging her progress.
Mm.
Do you think her language is actively harming her, or it's pretty benign?
No, I explained that it's actively extremely unhelpful.
And what did you respond with?
Her response is usually along the lines of like, but it's how I feel, I'm fucking it every day, like that sort of thing.
So she doesn't want to dismiss how she feels.
Yeah.
This is when I'd go to parts and we would de-minimize the weight of the problem. I could do this a lot with you, a lot with all of you, sorry. I would say we don't want to not acknowledge how you're feeling, but instead of it, the weight feeling so heavy, we want it to be a little bit lighter for you. And I might ask actually, no. Instead of saying, I'm always struggling with my bloating, would you be able to say, would you be able to say instead what you're feeling? And would you be able to say it and say a part of me? Because it's not the whole of you, right? It's not like and I'd say it's like not the whole, everything inside of you. It's like a part of you is feeling. So I would go parts and I would try and tweak her language so she doesn't carry as much weight with her emotions. So that's one place I would go.
Yeah, thank you.
And then Kara might have a different suggestion that you can add to that piece. That's just the language part. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, there is a lot to it. Like I do really understand the client's perspective because I was in that point too, where like I actually was always struggling with whatever I was. So it felt like I was ignoring reality if I didn't acknowledge that or just like explain that to my coaches. Like, you know, when they ask, how are you? It's like, yeah, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with what Alexander said.
An email I sent out a month ago as an antidote for imposter syndrome, I'd probably do something like that for her. I'd get her to write a list of reasons she's fucking awesome. Like if you guys are struggling with your own self-esteem, it's like, you guys are great. You guys are great in all your own ways. Give yourself evidence for that. And if you have clients struggling with that, you can do this on the call with them. What's one thing you like about yourself? What's one thing you're grateful for that you actually have good health of? Like how your body performs, etc. So you want to get them to point out the positives because people often bias towards the negative. All right, let's get into this one. So where do you start when you're coaching with someone? Oh, man, you're great. Where do you start when you're coaching with somebody? Tier 1. Kiara, you want to drive this one, please?
So this first tier is all about safety and stress and the balance between the two. So the principle that I want you guys to keep in mind is that your general health and vitality depends on how much stress your body can handle, not just emotional stress, but also physical stress. And so when that stress load is higher than what your body can handle, then that's when things start to become way more complicated and harder, and you're going to need so many more interventions. I experienced this myself with my sleep. If I'm stressed out, I need to throw the whole kitchen sink at it to get a good sleep. But if not, then all of a sudden I don't need all of these supplements and routines and all of that. So this is to really minimize the complexity and amount of interventions you're giving your clients, which provides, you know, much better outcomes over time because you're not just overwhelming them. So we need to really work on stress and safety first.
Yeah. Let's show you how to do that. By the way, you can just start and end here. Like tier 1, you can help like 80% of issues in most people right here. I'm going to explain a concept called allostatic load. Who's heard of GAS, general adaptation syndrome? Put a 1 in the chat if you if you've just heard of GAS, general adaptation syndrome by Hans Saley. It's taught in university often. Can I get a 1 in chat and 0 if I don't know. I haven't heard of GAS. 0 gas, 0 gas, 0 gas, 0 gas, 0 gas.
Oh, wow. That's like a legend.
You know about the gas? Who else am I missing? Georgia, Paul, Batan, Fez, Zoe, Christian. All right. Okay. Well, that example's not going to work. Allostatic load. This is a term that more accurately depicts the relationship between distress and its effects on the body.
So you want to think of this term as like the culmination of all of the wear and tear on your body. So all of the things it's having to deal with physically, mentally, environmentally, and then what that effect is having when it's chronically, like when it's such a chronic exposure on your body. So the picture there is sort of showing that nicely, like in a visual, where stress keeps going up and up, and then it's just showing like the incomplete recovery from it, because when things just keep piling up and your body's not able to deal with it, then your baseline stress level just becomes so much higher. So There's another concept soon we're going to go into, which is window of tolerance. But basically, it just means that the threshold for you to experience symptoms or negative consequences of the stress is so much lower now because that baseline is way higher than it
Yeah.
should be.
Please write this down. This is a fundamental concept that you need to understand of biology. Remember, the presentation is pinned. One reason I advocate for so many of you to move out of your environments, like whether it's me encouraging Sarah to move out of Phillip Island to a different environment. It's maybe not particularly stressful, but it's more like constructive to the ultimate goal. Or it's, I've had Clem, getting him out of Moe, Country Vic to the city, Riley, Mildura to city, etc. It's Matan, like the stress you were experiencing in Israel, like allostatic load would have been really high. And one reason I was advocating you so much was to improve this picture. So then everything else in your life could get a little bit easier. Because clients will often meet us, where you see where that red line is? Like at that red line or above it, whether they realize it or not. A man will often say, I'm not, are you stressed? He's not going to say I'm stressed. It's too much ego. But if you know how to ask him the right question, do you feel pressure in your chest? Like, do you feel a bit agitated and frustrated and angry sometimes? Yes. Oh, brother, you stressed. You need to know how to speak his language. Yes, that's right, Sarah. It's hard for a rose to grow in concrete.
Right. So the goal with allostatic load, look at this bucket on the side. This is like all of the things going in is all of I'll say like less constructive things to our health that a lot of people are dealing with or doing to themselves, or they've just been dealt that hand in life. So eventually, with enough things going in, that bucket's going to overflow, and then you're going to start seeing physical manifestations of that stress. So the goal here is to keep giving positive things, food, nutrients, rest, sleep, to increase the size of that bucket or increase their window of tolerance. And the really important thing to clarify with your clients is what their definition of stress is. Some people might think they're stressed if they're crying. Others might think they're stressed if like they're having a hard time breathing and they've got a tight chest. And then others might say, and no, I'm never stressed, but like their body, you can see their jaw clenching from like 10 meters away. So really need to clarify what stress means to your client. Looking at taking away as many things as possible from their stress bucket, or adding positive things. So working on this balance is going to be a lot of this tier 1 process.
Yeah. By the way, guys, just to remind you, we'll often take pauses in between slides to help you remember the information and also give you a chance and window to ask questions and make comments. Really, really love engagement. So please, to get the most out of yourself, like don't be, no, you're going to be afraid. Try and be a bit braver to speak up if you don't mind. Speaking of, Bez.
I'm the one who's raising his hand all the time. I just thought of one thing is like, especially with the stress bucket and how you guys mentioned, it's like very, how to understand what your clients identify as stress as well. How do we go about it? Is it like through our questioning? Like I know Kiara did mention that, ask that in your screening form, but can we just like directly ask people what stresses you out or what do you think stresses you out?
For sure. You just might have to use different language. For example, one of my boys, our coach, he didn't identify with the word stress very much, but he did with the term redlining. So we put that in our tracker, and I got to understand how much he was redlining, which was his analogy for pushing his body and stress. One question I find helpful is, what do you feel in your body, or where do you feel it in your body, or asking leading questions. For women, often throat, particularly those who grew up in eggshell households where they got criticized a lot. They'll feel a lot of blockages to speak. They'll feel the sensation and urge to cry, find it hard to cry. For men, I like to use examples of myself to help them feel a little bit more braver to share their own. So for me, I'll feel it here in my chest. I'll feel a lot of energy that needs to be let through me. So ask leading questions can help. Leading questions suggest the answer. Like, are you feeling something like this, like this, like this? Zoe, man's like cars. Yeah. Yes, bruv. Man's love cars.
Anytime someone speaks about redlining, I'm like, I know that term.
Vroom. Someone put a cars meme in the chat. Y'all are too young for cars. Paul's not too young for cars. I'm sure he plays the movie for his kid. Yeah. All right. So now you should be familiar with the term of allostatic load. This is what you want to aim to improve as a lever when almost all clients come to you. Emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically. These come into allostatic load. Okay? Now, every client, every person you work with, you should be asking, what's their allostatic load? What is their relationship to this picture here? Now, let's come into a psychological nervous system term, window of tolerance.
So I came across this with my psychologist, Jules. She introduced me to the topic. And so what you want to think of with your window of tolerance is pretty much like the most optimal range of arousal where you can function effectively. You can feel grounded. You can manage day-to-day life. You're calm. You're present. You're not getting pulled in either direction too much. You just feel pretty good. And then we have either side of the arousal spectrum. Too much arousal can be, think of really like a high energy, like could be crying, could be like yelling, overactive, racing thoughts, like you can't think, you're just a bit frantic. And then hypoarousal is more of that like disconnected freeze state, very tired, very slow, numb, unmotivated, that sort of thing. So depending on the person, their history, they can either lean more towards hyper or hypoarousal. And what you want to do is give your client tools to get them back into their window of tolerance. You can do this through physical means like exercise, food, hydration. You can do somatic work. You can do therapy for deeper work as well. But something to notice about this is that if your client isn't within their window of tolerance, the things you ask them to do aren't going to happen. They're not going to fill out their tracker. They're not going to train. They're going to come home from work and sit on TV and love ice cream, if that's how they deal with things. So just be mindful if you're automatically blaming a client's lack of adherence as like a trait that they have, and instead just get curious and actually look into why things are like more difficult for them.
Very well said. Can anyone relate? Mm-hmm. We all can. Can we get, guys, this is like, will people listen to us type of thing. Like my clients don't listen to me. They're barely listening to themselves. They're hypervigilant, they're reactive, they're hyper aroused. And so can we get, if you guys don't mind, which one do you identify with more so? Put a 1 in the chat for hyper, put a 2 in the chat for hypo, put a 3 in the chat with, you flip-flop between both. For me, it depends on the context, but I'm a 3. Floppy, 3, but more 2. Yeah, that makes sense. 3, Matan. Yep. What did I say? 1, 3 is flop. 1 is hyper. Yeah. Which one? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I almost forgot. Hyper, Sarah, is number 1. So you get a bit frazzled, like reactive, quite emotionally expressive, heart rate high, blood pressure high, anger might come up. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe you can often ask your partner to see as a reflection, as like, how do I respond usually? Yep. So withdrawal is a common coping mechanism for people. What about 3? Cool. Leon, for example, before boxing, before you do any type of competition, guys, notice how your nervous system responds, reacts. I, as an example, made my nervous system go way too much into hyperarousal when I was a basketball athlete and dedicated my life to that. And that affected my performance. I was too aroused. But then I've realized later in my years that my optimal performance is when I'm more playful, is when I am calm, grounded, more hypo aroused. So when you clients come to you, you ever get a client on a call and they're like super withdrawn, calm, almost like very withdrawn and almost seems like they're introverted as a personality trait, but really they're in a state of lethargy, numbness. And you can ask that question directly, like lack of feeling. Apathy is a common one for many people I've seen. And so we'll talk about strategies in future presentations and how you can deal with this, but I want to just bring some awareness, first of all, to this concept first. So you guys can notice it and then start to put tools in place to improve it. Zoe Lee.
Hi.
Hey.
I was wondering, with a client who might be more hypo-aroused, but they have their own tools, and so they often use walking to regulate their nervous system.
Yes.
But so their average steps are between 17,000 to sometimes 25,000 a day. How do you, which can start to tip into a lot of extra activity and like a different sort of stress on the body. How would you, or what would you, I guess, swap out that could have a similar effect that would be much?
Yeah, that's a good question. I first would like to understand what the walking is doing for them and why they're doing it, like what they get from it. Do you know?
It's regulating and it's getting their body moving and out of the stuck state that they're in mentally.
Right. So they use it as a tool to regulate themselves when they are a bit distressed?
Yeah. And like started running and then it got even longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of outside time.
So Fez, funny this conversation. It almost mirrors the conversation we had. Yeah? Fez is, if you don't mind, like is very similar. Fez, how long would you walk for, Fez?
Yeah, I'd walk for maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and then when I used to actually come back, then I used to go right into hypo.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, I haven't done anything. I've just wasted 2.5 hours just walking.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what it says.
Cool. So great example. And what did I suggest for you, Fez, that maybe you can give to Zoe? And have you done it and how has it been? Like, let's use a very real example.
So, like one of the easiest things that you told me, especially if I can't escape a situation, was that the 2 breaths, focusing on my breath, immediate breath work. And the other one was like if there's a situation where you're in an environment, it's like really hyper arousing you, what you can do is just splash cold water in your face. For me at work, it's done wonders. I've been there a few times. I've done that a few times for myself, and it's like really calmed me down.
So Zoe, and for everyone listening, we're talking about dialectical behavioral therapy and an activity or within it called TIPS, temperature, intense exercise, paced breathing, impaired muscle relaxation. This is a tool you want to have in your pocket to helping clients manage distressful events. Energy needs to go somewhere. She wants to express. I would encourage that expression. And by the way, guys, search in Zion. There's a beautiful presentation from Jules that goes into this. This is just to manage the window of tolerance, manage the reactivity, manage it temporarily. It's not the fix. It's just a tool to help regulate and a different alternative. You can look up on Google Images, really nice images of this, TIPS, DBT, and you'll see it. I just wanted Fez to speak on that. He found that really helpful. Sometimes your clients won't be able to leave and go for an hour walk, yeah? We need to have tools for them available. Thank you, Fez. But more in Zion. And then Kiara, I know you did this as well, so with maybe mixed results. I'm not sure. I can't recall how effective it was for you, but it's more tools. Just give it a go.
Yeah, for me, that it only really worked with hyperarousal, but not for the freeze state.
Yes. So each state requires a different response. So great question, Zoe. I would utilize TIPS with her. Okay, window of tolerance. Now we're going to get into the autonomic nervous system that covers these 2 branches, which you guys will be familiar with. Kiara.
So autonomic basically means it's involuntary. So you're not really in much control of this part of your nervous system, but you can do things to influence it. So we have 2 branches. First is the sympathetic part, and then we also have the parasympathetic part. Sympathetic is like fight or flight. So your body is prioritizing surviving, and things like your hypervigilance and threat perception increases a lot. And when you're in more of this state, then other body processes like digestion, repair, reproduction as well, they just shut down because they're not essential for you surviving in that moment. So this is just like a very simple way to explain why women lose their period under stress. And then we also have the parasympathetic side, which is the rest and digest. There's this really cool acronym I learnt. It's called SLUD. It means, it just like goes over how it affects your body. So it's salivation, lacrimation, which is crying, urination, digestion, and defecation. So when our body is relaxed and present and in that parasympathetic state, then all of the processes that we want to be working well for our health and well-being, they're going to be working. And managing stress is about being able to have the tools to be able to come in and out of these states whenever you need to, and not staying in the sympathetic like chronically. Some people stay sympathetic a lot of the time, which is can have like pretty detrimental effects on health.
Right. Again, we will get into this deeper in future presentations, but any thoughts or questions on this basic physiology? And this is something a little bit deeper that is quite cool.
So we have another part of our nervous system called the enteric nervous system too. And it basically acts on its own away from the autonomic nervous system. Now, this is like the part of your nervous system that's present along your whole digestive tract. So in this picture, it's showing your digestive tract. It starts in your throat, your mouth, your mucous membrane, all the way down to stomach, gallbladder, all of the other organs below there. And this acts independently on its own. It is influenced by the autonomic nervous system as well, but it can pretty much just do its own thing. So this, in a really simple way, explains why our gut health suffers so much under stress. And this would be because, when you're under stress, the blood flow is directed away from the gut, stomach acid or other enzyme production slows down, and then it can cause things like constipation by influencing how the intestinal movements go. So what this practically looks like in your clients is things like bloating, constipation, reflux, poor nutrient absorption, nausea, a lot of gut symptoms. But yeah, anyone, let me know if, when you feel sick or anxious, like, do you notice your gut just starts to feel a bit funny? Because I definitely do. Yeah, instantly, yeah. So that's your enteric nervous system doing its thing. Go, Fez.
I've got a question. When you talked about the throat as well, I've brought this up with Saad before. Like obviously, like the tightening of your jaw and your neck muscles. But I felt for myself under stress, especially with eating food, my throat always feels very tight. Like trying to swallow anything is so tight. And I always get most of the time I get infections around my tonsils, around my throat when I'm under stress, and it takes a while to get rid of them.
Oh, interesting.
We're gonna have to talk. Yeah, interesting. I don't know about you, Kara, but Bez, let me get back to you on that one. That one we might need to go a little bit deeper on some follow-up questions in our one-on-one.
Yeah, I'm not sure immediately what would be happening there, but yeah, it makes sense. I get that too.
Kara, there should be a button where in the share screen setting somewhere where you can do a remote control and you can request remote control to affect the slides. If you see that, let me know.
Don't think I see an option.
So when you are experiencing stress, the mechanisms to which your gut can be damaged or other responses you may experience are like loose stools, for example, and the higher levels of cortisol being produced from your adrenals as a result of the stress you're experiencing, long story short, can have a damaging effect on the gut, can create and contribute to temporary leaky gut situations where the permeability in your gut can increase and you can get increased immune reactions as a result of the stress that you are encountering because of what is happening with cortisol and the role that's playing on creating an environment in the gut that is quite unfavorable and damaging.
Would it also be nervous system enteric nervous system regulated with muscle contractions that can happen from stress, like in
Yeah.
cortisol, not just bacteria, or would it be a combination of the two?
Go on.
One
What do you mean by that?
So say someone is quite stressed, and then I think it's the muscles around the large intestine that, similar to if you have a big glass of water in the morning, can trigger, is it peristalsis, when the muscles contract
Yeah.
and push the poop out?
Yeah.
Would that be exacerbated with cortisol going through the gut? Would that be exacerbated by the bacteria, the nervous system? We got to go evacuate.
Yes.
Yes.
It increases gut motility. It's like speeds up gut motility. Kiara, you sounded like you wanted to say something on this.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, like, it controls the smooth muscle of the intestine. So, yeah, it can stimulate more contractions. I'm not sure about the gut bacteria side. I think it would be more the nervous system side.
But we'll definitely go deeper when we do our gut presentations. Got to withhold from going too deep, otherwise we'll lose ourselves. So stress. Remember where we are. We're addressing stress. Number one priority, helping the client feel safe in their body. Nervous system regulation techniques, which we'll cover more in the future. Everything within your toolkit to prioritize stress management first. There are some exclusion areas that I'll get Kiara to speak on these ones.
Yeah, so there's going to be situations that are more complex that you might not have the skill set to deal with, or you might not feel comfortable. And that's going to be things like if people are suicidal, they have more severe mental health conditions like bipolar, psychosis, dissociation, might be in more effective trauma state or dealing with PTSD actively. And it's really important to maintain a level of safety for yourself and also the client with what you're suggesting and how you're approaching them. So this is more of a red flag where you would look to deferring to a psychologist to support people with that side of their health. You can still support them with, the things that you guys agree on that's like within your skill set. But yeah, you just need to be careful with the boxes you open with these guys. And so if there's no exclusions there, really what you're going to be focusing on with this tier 1 is the very simple basics: sleep sufficiency and how consistent they are, their nervous system state, their environmental load, so like their work and their relationships, their training, taking or putting in more training, their bandwidth and adherence capacity that they have, and then also just meeting them where they're at, being very collaborative and supporting them with what they need.
At some point, you may be in a situation with clients where their stress and distress is so high that you are in a new situation that you may not know what to do. It could be suicidal ideation. It could be a really big degree of like distress and like emotions are coming up on the call. I've been in that situation many times. What I would suggest to you is, what would I suggest? Well, first, it may happen. You may be in situations where clients are coming to you and they feel safe enough to express those things. I actually have some of those calls recorded in that moment as that's happening, that if you guys want me to share, I can ask that client. What I would say, one thing is try and always grab an emergency contact of your client. These are situations where you'd use it because you can contact somebody within their world that something's going on. Because usually as the coach who's very trusted, you might be the first person that they tell. So how you can keep the client safe is not just suggesting the basic things like go speak to a psychologist, here's a number to call. Like, yeah, that's good, it's fine. But often I find it helpful to bring somebody else in so you're not alone in supporting them. Someone ideally who they're close proximity with. That has been quite helpful for me. So here's the general rule. If their allostatic load is high, anxiety, ton of training, lack of sleep, a lot of internal body felt stress, start here. We can use like supplements and things like that, to help support this system, but I would go body-based strategies first, improving environment, and really focusing and honing in on giving them tools to help manage their stress. There are exceptions. Often I sometimes do start with supplements and other tools when the urgency is higher, but that's on a case by case. This is a general rule. So let's give you something practical. Kiara.
We're going to try implement some really basic things with sleep. You want to agree with them on a sleep window. Hey, when are you happy to go to bed and wake up within reason? You want to try get them to do no screens an hour before bed, or if they do, then doing the red shift option on the phone, and then morning sunlight for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes if possible, within 30 minutes of waking up. With training, if it's needed, you want to reduce their training volume by about 30 to 50% and no sessions over an hour.
On this is particularly relevant for females who usually will come with you with PMS related issues, which usually can be exacerbated or at least not helped by the distress of training or you will have females that you will coach who may not want to pull back their training, but if you can come at it from the lens of giving their body a little bit more healing and nourishment, or pulling back the intensity, pulling back a lot of the, it's very therapeutic for a lot of people, but often it can be exacerbating the physical body felt stress and aches and pains, and even be fatiguing for many women who have been dieting and training hard for long periods of time. So it may be actually even a season of changing their from weight training to other modalities that are more nourishing, which can be incredibly regulating and give them more of a window of tolerance to work on other things. I mean, I think you found that, Kiara. You used to train like pretty intensely.
I was so intense. I think I fried myself every single session. I was only doing 3 times a week, but I left nothing on the table. Now I've just been doing Pilates for the last couple months. So I've completely stopped weightlifting.
And what have you noticed?
Yeah, I just don't feel so exhausted after the session.
Yeah.
I'm not slamming 300 milligrams of pre-workout caffeine, so that's better. Yeah, and it's just something to keep my body moving, because it's either do Pilates or don't train at all. So
Great.
Yeah.
So a strategy that you will use will sometimes be pulling training back. It's not just the training session and how nutrient taxing that is. Did you know that hard weight training and endurance training can create temporary intestinal permeability? Meaning the gut, particularly after training for 1 to 2 hours, can often be more sensitive in the 30, 60 or a few hour window after training, because there's actually a somewhat of a damage happening from training because of often the immune response happening. And then they go eat, and then it's like, why am I reacting after I train? Time and time after again, there's all these different systems that are being impacted by training. Also, Kiara made a great point. Think about the pre-workout, the caffeine, all these little additions that happen. And then the pressure of I have to get to the gym. I don't have time. Following the program, the judgment happens when you don't follow the program fully. All of these things that encapsulate the stress and pressure of training, and such a big part of people's day. So if you can pull back their expectations and help them understand that the phase that we're going to start with is we need to improve your window of tolerance. We need to improve how you're managing stress. You guys will need to educate your clients on this before you can't just tell her, hey, we're going to stop. I want you to pull back training. What do you mean pull back training? I've been training for 6 years, almost every day. It's like telling them to reframe their identity in a second. You need to educate them and communicate to them, hey, here's why this is beneficial to you. It's a season. It's not forever. X, Y, Z. Here's why. But I know on the other hand, for someone like Georgia, I know you walk a tightrope here of it can be really helpful for you therapeutically, right? But also it can be a bit dysregulating. I mean, I'll let you speak on it.
Can you just clarify what you're talking about training?
Yep, weight training.
Yeah, I just put in the chat, my sessions are about 2.5 to 3 hours sometimes because I do powerlifting.
Mm-hmm.
Training for me is like a really good a way of like mentally deloading, because I find it helps a lot with the anxiety. And that was the thing that kind of like pulled me out of a really rough mental state, because I used to do nothing at all. So training like kind of kept me moving. But unfortunately, powerlifting is very, very taxing. And like 2.5, 3 hours is a fucking lot. Um, Again, I have goals, like I want to compete. So it's a double-edged sword, I do find.
Yeah.
And right now, especially like when there's so much sort of health-wise going on, it's fatiguing as hell. Yeah. It's a lot sometimes.
Perfect example. So client, let's do this live for 1 minute. So a suggestion I might have, I don't know if this is logistically possible, but a suggestion I might have for a client like Georgia is I want to do this powerlifting thing. Training gives me great outlet, but it's 2.5 to 3 hours and it's quite exhausting. One thing I might suggest is, could we split the volume? Like, is that possible? Instead of 2.5 to 3 hours, could we make it a 2 a day? Could we split 4 days of volume across 7 days or 6 days?
Yeah, so so I do 3 days a week. I find 3 days is actually my sweet spot. It's challenging for me to get into any more days, just schedule wise. So 3 works, but I am reducing the amount of time I'm doing. So I think I've got like my main SBD lifts, and then I've got a few accessories. So it's about 5 exercises, but I'll usually like superset my accessories, so I'm not in there as long.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm currently doing to reduce the time, plus not talking as much, because I do talk a bit, so that's incorporated. But yeah, reducing the time at the moment is the main thing, because 3 is kind of like the sweet spot for sessions at the moment.
Cool.
And if I do more, I find that's even more taxing.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So that's feedback from the client. My suggestion didn't work, but she's finding something else that's working for her. So you can pull on either of those guys. Great example. Let's go the stabilization protocol, first month of coaching. Let's go to nutrition and nervous system.
All right. This can be pretty hard for some people, but 3 solid meals a day. That means breakfast. The amount of people I've come across that skip breakfast is freaking crazy. So it can be a shake, a liquid shake in the morning, because a lot of women especially don't have an appetite in the morning, so fine liquids are easy to get down, but we want to try get 3 square meals a day. We also want to try give a protein target, because there's just one macro to focus on, and then get hydration going well too.
P.S. You should be able to control the slides now.
Oh yeah, got it.
Oh.
And then with the nervous system, 2 really simple things we can do is like a 10-minute daily down regulation practice. Can be morning and night, or it can just be one of them, depending on their capacity. And then just talk to them and see what's like one commitment that's not essential that they can just postpone or delay or remove for the time being. Because a lot of the times we think that we have these commitments, or our to-do lists are like, this is all essential and I need to do it today. And then, we stress ourselves out over it. But if you really sit down and think about it, like a lot of things aren't essential, they're not urgent, and it's not an emergency. So in a state like this, we can look at removing a commitment that, doesn't need to be done.
Are there any people in here, like, does anybody like to implement something for themselves that they're looking at this list that they could do? Put in the chat if you got one thing at least that you can do from this list so far. See if anybody has something. 3 things?
I mean, like for me right now, sleep is a very, very big thing.
Yeah.
And now it's Ramadan, just started today as well. So it's again another issue with sleep. The training also was I was finding it difficult because I finished at like 9:30 at night. So I'm training at night. I was doing 3 sets. So like Georgia mentioned, like reducing the sets as well, trying to superset a few things. So working on that now. And big one now again is nutrition for me with Ramadan. It's like the timings of my meals are like I stopped eating like 5:20 in the morning, and now I'm gonna open my fast at 8:20 at night. So my hydration is gonna go down, and then I try to literally bunch up 5 of my meals, like 2 of my meals together, and I was so overwhelmed. Like I could not finish my food.
Mm.
I'm trying to find like a way now of how much I can actually eat and sustain in that short amount of time in the morning when I'm waking up.
Yeah.
And later on, I might keep it lighter when I open my fast and then have a heavier dinner, I'd say.
Ramadan definitely is a different challenge. That's something we can talk about in a one-on-one. But those seem like things you can definitely explore, Fez. It's going to be a challenge nonetheless. But with all of you, in regards to what I would suggest for all of you, is light. Morning, sunrise light, 5-10 minutes. I was talking to Matan about this last time in our one-on-one because he wakes up before the sun rises, I believe, if I recall. And that is a big one for energy and starting your day more regulated, not as reactive. And Beck, we talked about for you, like not training as soon as you like wake up, like giving yourself that space. So I'd love if a few more people could put like what's one thing they can do. Like we're coaches, we should walk the walk. Let's make sure we're doing the things that we tell our clients to do. No screens 60 minutes before bed is a big thing. Lights in the morning for with partner. He was less grumpy. Red light. If your house don't look like the red light district at night, you're doing it wrong. Down regulation. Yeah, Paul, that's big. Cool. All right. Anybody else want to put in? Olivia, Beck. Yes, working on sleep and nervous system. Yes, with the great Danielle. Minimum viable plan.
Okay. So if even that is too overwhelming for your client, just pick one.
Yeah.
One of these things. Pick a time you're going to wake up, plus or minus 30 minutes. Or eat 3 meals a day, or just go for 1 10-minute walk outside. Some people are at this point where it's like it's too much. They just need one thing that's quick, easy to do. And then from there you can work your way up.
This might seem really small. Some clients you're gonna have to meet them where they're at, and you just every week you just focus on reviewing what went well, how we could improve the thing from the first week, and you just go one at a time. And then by 52 weeks, you've gotten a lot done and they have a lot of things available to them.
So there's also an option to have like a low capacity, sort of like a bad day plan. So a lot of your clients, they would be having bad days and then they immediately fall off the bandwagon, all their habits go out the window. So you want to like sort of agree with them on a plan for those bad days. So still the meals are really important. We need food. It's going to be 3 simple meals this time. Doesn't have to be some elaborate thing. It can be a frozen meal that they've pre-made. It can be like a microwave meal, or worst case, a healthier takeaway. But they still need to have those meals. 5 minutes outside, ideally grounded. 5 minutes of breathing or a meditation or a somatic practice. Having the option and knowing and the permission, hey, you can skip a training session. This is more so geared towards the women, but it can apply to men too. This might come a lot in late luteal or first few days of the period. Go to bed earlier than usual, so just get nice and cozy and chill out and go to bed. And then also to just like postpone any non-essential commitments. Like if it can be done on another day, then do it on another day. But this way your clients don't like beat themselves up for having a bad day, and there's still something constructive happening with their health and their goals.
So practically, you write this for your client with them in your coaching call. It's like, hey, we're going to agree on a bad day plan B. If things don't go well, here's what we can do. So you're working collaboratively with them. This is like, I don't understand how like Loom coaches just make amazing progress, because I can't work as collaboratively. So coaching calls are awesome. That's my bias though. So work with them to create this so they have something in their pocket, because they will have bad days. And then that eventually becomes more autonomous. So I will sometimes with my clients get them to do the thing with them. I'm going to like, can we set the alarm right now to help you remember to go to bed or wind down or do the thing that's important? Hey, can we order the meals now? Yeah, do it with me right now. Like I like doing things with people who have as much self-autonomy to do it on their own yet, so we build momentum together.
And like whenever you make meals generally that can be frozen, like make a bigger batch of them. Me and Christian do this, and it's so good.
How
So
long will that
really-
last you guys?
Oh, it depends on how much we make, but it can be like I batch prep or Christian does it like homemade chicken nuggets. It's like just crumb chicken.
Nice.
So like I've got like I think almost a month worth of that.
Amazing. But they're ready. They're ready, like just in case they need. They've prepared. So you want to do that with your client. Then I'll be with the client. Can you put that in your calendar? Can you set an alarm on your phone for every Sunday at 9 a.m. to do the meal prep?
Yeah. Yeah. Lasagnas are also really good. Yeah, any chicken, meat.
I'm coming over. Lasagna.
It's
Sign me up.
Christian. Christian's the chef.
All right, Chef Doberger. Mm-hmm.
He made ravioli too.
Oh, nice. That's great. Meal prep wise, you guys would be stunned at how actually cheap it is to get good quality. I can't speak for Sydney, but Fed in Melbourne is really great. It's like $18 a meal. It's going to cost you $6. You tell the client it's going to cost you like $6 to make. So brother, sister, is it worth $10 extra for you to save an hour and have peace of mind?
Can I say something about time and meal prepping?
Of course.
So I have a pressure cooker. Does anyone have a pressure cooker in here?
Yeah, it's my life. Go on.
Life. Did you say my life? Go on.
It's my life.
So I cook 2 kilos of potatoes in 6 minutes. I cook 3 kilograms of rice in 3 minutes. I cook 2 kilograms of chicken in 4 minutes. So yes, that's very handy. I've got a very bougie pressure cooker, but it literally it does things so quickly. And then just chuck it all in the freezer.
That's crazy. I've never heard of that.
Yeah. 3-minute rice for 3 kilos is wild. Yeah. I'll send you guys the one that I have, but I'm pretty sure any pressure cooker works. Mine just also, which might be for the chicken nuggets, the way it air crisps, if you like KFC, like chicken, the way it crumbs, it's got this setting on it where you use garlic powder and it crumbs like KFC chicken on the outside. But there's no, I'll send it. I'll send it in.
Done.
Awesome. So that's getting your clients to get better tools like a pressure cooker or an air fryer, and you just make their life easier with better tools. So awesome. So now we've covered tier 1, a big tier. Yeah, a big tier. Like you can do so much great work just right here. Just going back on what we've covered so you guys can get reminded, we're here. We'll give you more tools as you go along, but you guys have some tools available. Psychology modules open. So within those is some more and more tools that you can use for your clients if you're a bit stuck on what to do. Light, sleep, cooling down training, more space for self, more joy, more play, more laughter, guilt-free time, feminine, masculine time, inner boy, inner girl time, whatever you want to call it. Cool. It's tier 1, includes a pressure cooker. Brother's on the way to pick up his girl. He's going to be late to pick up his girl because he's looking up a pressure cooker. Leon, that's funny. Thanks, Gara. My man. He didn't stop for anything else. He stopped for the pressure cooker. All right, tier 2.
All right. Now we're going more into providing some predictability and consistency and adding in a few more layers. So just again, as a reminder, we want to address energy and sleep inputs before we start dumping extensive protocols on the clients. And something to keep in mind we're going to go into is that if these inputs are inconsistent or poorly timed, then the symptoms will still stay even though you're trying to like use all of these sophisticated and more advanced interventions. So you can't bypass basic biology really. So some things we're going to focus on in this tier is circadian biology. That's meal timing, it's light, caffeine, cortisol, sleep, appetite. It affects a lot of things that you just don't even realize until you learn about it. That's really cool. Glucose variability as well. So we want to be looking at stabilizing blood sugar because it really drives things like cravings and fatigue, anxiety, even sleep. A lot of people wake up at around 2 or 3 a.m. It's typically from like a hypoglycemic response waking them up. So that's just like a little trick to keep in mind if they have like a bit of juice or something, it'll help them go back to sleep.
The story is one day, Kiara, the Sunday story. You remember?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that explains why you slept better?
I need to find a picture of the Sunday.
Yeah.
I had this massive, if you've watched the SpongeBob movie, like the Goofy Goober gigantic Sunday, I had a Sunday like that and I slept so well. Yeah, then I like figured out how to do it at home with good ingredients and then that started that thing.
So this is when I was coaching Kiara and we were trying to improve her insomnia and her sleep. And we noticed that she might have been having a hypoglycemic response where your cortisol starts to go up and your blood glucose goes down and it triggers wakefulness because it triggers to the body like you need to find food. She had the Sunday, she slept really well. It's like, let's try and repeat this. And there seemed to be a little signal there. So I think for anybody struggling with sleep, it's kind of counter to the idea of like avoid food 3 hours before bed. It can go both ways. It depends on the biology of the person and the habits they're in. But maybe Georgia, for example, it's something we may try is a later night higher carbohydrate meal that also helps produce serotonin and beta endorphins and helps calm you. So it's something you may want to explore with a giant SpongeBob sundae.
Yeah, I find that this works really well for the more stressed out clients, the anxious types. Like if you're like a cool cucumber, it's probably not going to do much. But yeah, so it can be anything with like sugar and a bit of fat. So, and salt as well is really good. Really simple. If you wake up in the middle of the night, juice and salt, and go back to sleep really quick.
We don't have a ton of time, but Olivia's story is a bit crazy. I'm just going to interrupt the whole thing. Olivia, please tell that.
Yeah, so I have a client. It was happening for a couple of weeks, and every night she was practically just waking up randomly because she was like screaming in her sleep, had nightmares every night. Her body temp would change a lot too. Like she'd wake up in sweats or one night it could be like she'd have prickles in her fingers because her hands are so cold. I had notes from like hypoglycemia in like sleep. So I was like, okay, maybe I just was like, we'll give something a go. Maybe have like a big tablespoon of honey like in your tea before you go to sleep. And she did say that's helped massively. Well, like, ever since she's been doing it, she's practically had good sleeps, like no wakefulness.
That is well done. Well done. You did a great job. That judgment. Was she under eating? Not generally?
Not generally, no. I could probably more have a look at what she's having for dinner, but I made sure like, because we're doing more like portioning sizes on her plate, like what her plate will look like, and I've definitely prioritized carbs.
Well done. So if any of you are struggling with sleep with yourself or your clients, you can try, and you're a bit stressed, try the later night carbs. It could be honey with a chamomile tea. There's a lot of variations, but that's definitely something to explore. Thank you, Olivia. That's a great story.
That's okay. Yeah, because I had my notes from like with Mandy, and I remember her saying that. I was like, okay, maybe that's something we can try.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice work. Let's roll.
Okay, so energy balance is also going to come into play here. So under eating is a massive problem. Adherence too. So if we give our clients, fewer rules and then more of a repeatable structure and framework, then it's more likely to increase consistency and compliance, and they're probably more in a space to receive that now too. And then we just want to do some really simple, basic things to support digestion and gut motility too. So the first point I want to touch on is circadian biology. This might seem a bit like woo-woo or like not important, but it is the most important thing. One reason is that in your brain, you have this little part called the SCN. I don't know how to say the full name, but
I got you.
This is sort of like the clock in your brain, and it's set by the light signals that are coming into your eye during the day. And then what this does is it coordinates the clocks throughout your body in the different organs, because all of our organs in our body runs on this circadian rhythm. And then this helps to set the timing of certain hormones and compounds and things being secreted.
I'm a big fan of the suprachiasmatic nucleus. I'm a big SCN guy. You could say, if you want to know more, look up a guy called Dr. Sachin Panda. Him and Rhonda Patrick have done some great podcasts on sleep and light biology. And you get light from your eyes, and it goes in your retinal ganglion cells, and then it talks to your little master clock, and the clock influences a bunch of other clocks in your body. So you think light influences sleep. Light influences almost basically every biological system in your body, which is pretty crazy. particularly regulating glucose, insulin. We know, for example, that you can have the same meal timing in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, exact same meal, but respond different from a metabolic perspective. We think this is because of the relationship between light and our organ systems. So that is the scientific way to say, guys, please get your clients and yourselves to get light exposure at sunrise and sunset, because it tells your brain what's going on. This is not normal. Sarah's outside now. Sarah's SCN. It's dancing right now. Please make sure you get light. It is the $0 strategy to have arguably one of the biggest impacts on all of your body systems. I wish I could signify my brain exploding on how important this is.
Yeah, like all of the metabolic processes, all of your cells, all of the atoms, the molecules, the everything, it's influenced by light. Like every single thing. There's
Like, and then when you walk in homes at night and people have all this artificial light on, it's influencing you at the level of the mitochondria. The powerhouse of the cell is being influenced by artificial blue light. Like, we'll go deeper later. Let's keep going. I'll lose my mind first.
So basically what I'm trying to say is that a disruption in this timing can happen from inappropriate meal timing or a natural light. So like slamming your biggest meal when the sun goes down, probably not a good idea. Looking at blue light all day inside with no windows, not a good idea. Not seeing the sun, not going outside, is also not, it's going to be affecting a lot of different hormones and processes in your body, which is going to have so many knock-on effects. Like, it sounds a bit general because it is, but like it affects so much that it's like hard to just put it in a simple list.
Actually, for you, Sarah, and anybody who cares about their skin health, they did a study on, I think it was mice and artificial blue light at night, and they found that it created more reactive oxygen species and oxidative stress, which just means like increased the aging process, and skin aging actually was worse. So
yeah, that's true.
What's the practical thing from that? Red light. Use red light at night. Find the study. Cool.
A huge part of healing my skin too was the sun.
Yes.
Not like when my skin was like so bad that like the sun would feel like it. So, like the sun was burning it, but like I think it might have had a lot to do with just vitamin D as well. Yeah, like high dosing vitamin D. But yeah, I really think that the sun on your skin is just so extremely healing.
Yeah, it signals a lot of anti-inflammatory pathways and inhibits pro-inflammatory pathways from ultraviolet light exposure. Very powerful.
Okay, so we have the sun. You're all going to worship it now. Now we have food, low energy availability. We'll go into this deeper in other presentations, but I just want to introduce you to the concept now. This happens when energy intake is lower than what your body's needs are for the day and exercise, very simply. And how your body responds is it starts to downregulate what we call metabolically expensive processes. So
I got this one for a second because I put the diagram in. I'll just provide some context. You guys will be familiar with this. When your clients, athletes, particularly females, are not intaking enough energy, they're basically in a deficit. It undermines the performance and health of every single body system. And it's created, and we've created a condition as a result of this observation called the female athlete triad. I think, Olivia, you'll be quite familiar with this. And this is when not only do we notice PMS issues from this relationship with less energy and constant dieting for our clients, we notice things like reduced lean body mass, reduced bone density, which has very heavy implications to later in life with osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, menopause, and women particularly being susceptible for a lot of bone injuries, fractures, and PMS-related issues. So we really want to restore this relationship as a priority.
I just want to add that a lot of younger women might not care about their bone health or menopause or whatever because it's so far away. But if they care about how their hair looks, their skin, their nails, like this is the biggest thing that impacts it. Like, you want your hair to grow, you need food and you need nutrients. It's a non-essential feature of our body. You don't need hair to survive.
I Love that, because we have to meet the clients where they're at. We can't expect them to care about the future that much, right? But they can care about the present. So you want to use the vector, the direction of their greatest influence and what they care about. And if that's ego, if that's vanity, if that's materialism, like awesome. Like not awesome, but like we can use that to get the outcome a little bit easier without as much like hair pulling or like strain. So women are very influenced by that. Use it to positively influence them. I think that's a great point.
Right. And something else that I want to really hone in on is that you don't need to be an athlete to experience low energy availability. Anyone can be in an LEA state through chronic undereating, dieting phases without reversing out and refueling, high stress, busy schedules, and you're just like, oh, I forgot to eat, and high training loads without matching nutrition. Big one, fear of eating because of gaining weight, and then just general appetite suppression from stress or caffeine or medications. So I think most women are actually in an LEA state from the impacts of diet culture and the really strong focus on appearances, and skinny has come back as a trend now too, which is like freaking great. Like, how are we going to manage that? But yeah, so a lot of women are in this state without even realizing it, like under 2,000 calories a day, just for years and years at a time.
And for my entrepreneurial, like high performing men or men who are pushing the boundaries, they'll often skip meals, undereat, over caffeinate a ton. And I have one client in particular, super high performing, wealthy guy, and just a bit fatigued, low energy, was undereating. We increased his calories by about 500. He just dialed in his nutrition a bit more. He's like, feels way different. So make sure you're also considering the demands of stress and how calorically expensive that is.
I have a little diagram from Dave O'Brien that I have shared with clients over the years. I think a stressed brain can burn through 1,100 calories per day, whereas a non-stressed brain is 300 and something calories. Does that sound right?
Yeah. And also I heard a study about chess players.
Yes.
They burned 3,000 calories in a game. Even thinking using your massive brain is going to burn calories.
I don't remember why. I might need to come back to that. I've seen that same study and I was like, holy shit. And then I think I read it being debunked and that it wasn't actually good science.
Oh, okay.
But just don't hold me to that. But I think there's a bit more nuance to it. But it's directionally accurate that the brain is the most expensive organ. It uses the most glucose. It uses the most calories. Share that diagram for sure, Zoe. And let's talk about this diagram.
Yeah, so this is just basically looking at all of the different ways that not eating enough food can affect your body. So, like, everyone's worried about cortisol nowadays, but then they're barely eating. Like, if you want to lower your cortisol, eat enough food. Like, don't make it hard on yourself. Yeah, so it's just basically a picture of like going through all the mechanisms and stuff. But it's very wide and far-reaching, and it can't be underestimated. And a body that wants to heal needs nutrients to heal. You can't heal through no material and out of thin air. Like, there needs to be some sort of input.
Yeah. So this is why we go sleep, we go light, we go diet. We build those foundations. We go nervous system safety, reduce stress so you're not depleting as much nutrients. Then we can go supplements later.
Okay, so what we're going to be looking at in this second tier is minimum caloric adequacy. So at bare minimum maintenance, sometimes a surplus is needed. This is very relevant for clients with eating disorder tendencies or history of dieting, like decade-long dieting. Macronutrients, we can look at setting some ranges. These are some general guidelines. With the carbs, on that end range, it's more like the going into like the hours of training. And on the lower end, it's just for like low training. So just keep that in mind. Meal timing as well. This is primarily for blood sugar regulation. meal one, we want to try get within an hour of waking. Especially for women, this seems to be very supportive. And then from there, eating meals every 3 to 5 hours, and then having the last meal about 2 to 3 hours before bed, with that exception that we spoke about before. Now, with hydration and electrolytes, we generally want to look at that 30 to 35 mils per kilo a day. And then we want to look at adding in electrolytes, so things like sodium, potassium, magnesium to an extent, some really nice hydrating liquids that aren't just water. It's going to be things like coconut water, orange juice, pomegranate juice. Sparkling mineral water is also really great. So just make it easy for your clients to get liquids in. Herbal teas is also really good. They have extra medicinal benefits. So it doesn't just need to be plain water. If anything, that's worse for hydration than actually having some glucose and other minerals in it for and then with caffeine, this is going to be a bit hard for the busy people, but I'm going to try stop caffeine intake about 8 hours before bedtime. And then anecdotally for women, they tend to respond better when they have their coffee after their meal. This is just more from like a stress perspective. If they're skipping breakfast and then they're training for 3 hours and they're stressed at work,
Right.
and then having the coffee on an empty stomach, that's going to be
It's just cortisol soup.
yeah.
They're just like put me in a bath of cortisol. Like your waking cortisol is highest in the morning. You're then going to go train and trigger a bunch of cortisol because that cortisol is helpful. You want it. It helps liberate glucose and free fatty acids. Oh, then we're like prolonging fasting. Why does cortisol go up when you fast? To trigger arousal and wakefulness so you don't die because it's a threat and biologically it's a survival mechanism. And then you're going to have caffeine. There's more cortisol for you. And then you can do that every day and wonder why your gut's wrecked. Your PMS is like through the roof and your hair's falling out.
And I know people like Jake Dolishaw's like shared studies that, coffee intake on an empty stomach doesn't raise cortisol and stuff, which is like, makes sense, but we still need to view this through the context of the person in front of us and not add more stress over an already stressed body.
Caffeine doesn't stimulate the adrenal glands to produce cortisol and adrenaline. That's what that's claiming.
I can't remember. He's like made it a thing where like he's saying that coffee doesn't raise cortisol, and he's shared a few studies on it and stuff because
Interesting.
like he was kind of going against the thing.
Yeah.
That I was saying there.
All right.
Actually, I think that was more if you're already acclimated to coffee. That would
Right
happen.
versus acute.
Yeah.
Okay, that's different context. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Adaptive mechanisms.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh,
sorry.
Oh yeah, go.
I was just going to say with Jake's coffee thing, I think a big thing that he says is like it doesn't affect everyone that way. Like that's his angle with it.
Pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
Pretty reasonable take then.
Yeah. Okay. And then with the stool, digestion and elimination is such a fundamental part of keeping our bodies healthy, from hormones to mood and everything else. So we want to try aim for 1 to 3 bowel movements a day and have it at a Bristol 3 to 4-ish.
That's the aim. You can't psychologically do that. Got to like support the diet to get there.
Yeah. We have a constipation protocol if you need.
Yeah, cool.
All right. So just generally, as a rule here, if the metabolic inputs such as light and energy are low, then you don't need to go down the rabbit holes of gut and hormones and liver and everything else. You need to just fix their circadian and energy availability problem. Now, this is sort of like a template you can follow, sort of like a checklist with your clients before moving on to the next tier. So the plan is to follow the same meal timing and macro targets, hydration and caffeine window with about 60 to 70% of adherence. And then this is established when meal timing is consistent, the macro and energy target is met more than 80% of the days, the sleep duration and quality is met more than 80% of the time, the hydration is consistent, caffeine timing is, and then stool frequency is relatively predictable. So already here, there's so much you can work on with your clients without jumping to blood work and supplements and protocols. This is a really good, I guess, like antidote to imposter syndrome that some of you guys might be feeling. You don't need to go straight into like the details and the weeds to help someone with their health. Because if this stuff isn't met, then like the supplements and everything else, it's gonna be, you're gonna need way more to get the same effect than if they were
100%.
sorted out.
Let's now, I'm going to go to tier 3 now. Tier 1, nervous system, stress. Tier 2, diet, sleep, light, energy, micronutrients. We're going to go a little bit over. Let me add some context to this. There are some times where you're going to have clients who are severe enough where you should jump to this at the same time. You're going to have to use your own judgment. I've done that with some of you, and we're doing it at the same time. Because the severity of the symptoms requires it. The urgency requires it. The long-standing history necessitates it. So if let's say Georgia, for example, with the range of different symptoms that we're working on and that Danielle is also supporting her on, and even Kiara, when I first met her, I'm going to do both at once. The addressing the body systems with diet, supplements, and a more assertive strategy and testing, while also supporting nervous system and stress. But for the majority, we just give this a little bit more time to do later. I think Kiara is very big on this. I'll let her speak on it in a second. And I've made the misjudgment in the past of just like band-aiding symptoms without understanding the underlying complex body system. We really want to understand what's going on at the root cause level, which means understanding the body systems underneath that influence the symptom. Skin, for example, acne, psoriasis is often a representation of what's going on underneath. It's also topical. It's also like skin health, but it's often rooted in what's happening internally. So go ahead, Kay.
I'm huge on this. It's like one of the reasons I became so passionate about biochemistry is because you need to peel back the layers and look really, really deep and underneath the symptom that's presenting, because it's only the tip of the iceberg. And if you just chase symptoms, like allopathic conventional medicine, you can chase symptoms in this way by giving supplements, but then I think, you're not getting a better outcome than if they just took a medication, because the problem is still there underlying, and then it's going to end up manifesting in another way if you don't deal with it properly. So the goal is to identify through your knowledge of systems physiology and biochemistry what is causing the presentation of health that's in front of you.
You know what? I want to make a judgment call because I want you guys to interpret this with not half of you leaving or being quite fatigued at the end of these 2 hours. And I do want to go into examples. Kiara, do you think we should stop here and go tier 3, tier 4 with practical next time?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm happy with that. We have the time for it, so we can do it. I know we talked about being big on examples with this stuff. Is there any examples for tier 2 or tier 1, even from recent clients of yours, for example, that you want to communicate?
I had a client who one of her complaints was low libido, and I noticed that she wasn't eating breakfast or just generally under eating, and she was really stressed. And then I just asked her to put some breakfast in consistently. She did that, and then she said that her libido the next cycle was like pretty good. So you don't need to start like throwing in the maca powder and whatever else they use for libido.
The saffron and the zinc.
Yeah. That was resolved by eating, just not exposing her body to so much cortisol all day, every day, because your body doesn't want to reproduce if you're stressed. So, yeah.
While we finish here, does anybody have any clients or case studies that come to mind that either they've done this with that have shown it work, or you might be struggling a little bit with about where do I start?
I've got my client. Yeah, 2 days ago, I was talking to her about blood work and stuff like that and her reply to me, she's like, I've never gotten my bloods done in my life. I'm like, she's like, as a kid, yes. She's like, I've never willingly given my blood over to get it checked. She's had period issues in the past where the doctors put her on the pill, and that worsened her symptoms. And then like it's been, I think, 7 years we were talking about it, that she's been off it. But right now, and she's had issues with food, eating, like under eating, and still not losing weight. However, now that I've been training her, in a month, she's lost over 5 kgs, has increased her food intake with breakfast, proper timings, with meals and everything. And just talking to her about the blood work, like both, I got really excited because I'm like, I'm getting like a whole blood work protocol from Coach Saad. And like, are you willing to do it? We were literally out in the mall, and she's like, yep, I'm happy to give my blood. I'm like, yep, virgin sacrifice. Everyone just looked at me.
Virgin sacrifice. That's
She's like,
funny.
virgin blood. She's like, first time, she's like, I'm scared
Yeah.
getting my bloods done. I'm like, okay, I'll go with you if you want me to.
Oh,
But we can do this. And she's very excited. Like, I'm very excited to work with her because this is
great.
like literally my first client.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to do, like, if I do blood work with her, it would be her first blood markers that then I can track later on.
Right, exactly. So this is a great point. We're going to talk about it later, but I was even talking to Sarah about this, like the frustration and challenge, like when do we do blood work? Like what if the client hasn't done it? Put it all in your onboarding system. I would encourage you all to get blood work with most clients from the beginning. It doesn't mean you need to like do a full analysis and do something with it immediately. But what you can at least do with it is capture a snapshot in time of where their health is. So then you can plot the improvement. Like you can, all right, 6 months later, it's like, oh, we actually improved the thing. And also stress, burdened body systems, sleep problems, PMS issues, they can be captured. Like poor health is captured and represented within the representation of the biochemistry that's in the blood work. So you can use it as a tool to help influence and convince that, hey, there actually is something going on here. Your symptoms are not in your head, or that the systems of your body are really struggling. You can at least point it out to them. Even if you're struggling to like learn blood work right now, if the shit looks red, if it's red, probably not good, like bad, like conventional ranges, like it's red. Oh, this is a problem. Like at least the client can like start to see that there's evidence if they may be skeptical at all.
Yeah, like to add, if vitamin D is low, you can probably tell them to go in the sun, like pretty safe.
I mean, Fez's vitamin D was it 20 or 30? Yeah, right? Dark skin,
Yeah,
things like that. So that's like easy low hanging fruit. Any other examples, guys, that you want to quickly, you just want to share a win or a client that you were or are struggling to kind of figure out where to start? Zoe Lee.
Had a client
Right.
who last year we went through a health phase where we committed to eating more food
Yes.
for a good sort of like 6-month block, and she was really struggling to lose weight. And then we committed to more food. She put on a few kilos in that time, which was sort of, I explained that was probably necessary. But we built her calories up to she's in her mid-40s now almost. But we built her calories up to only 2,200. So the goal is to push them higher over time in the future. But now she's losing weight and losing quite a significant amount on 2,000 calories a day, whereas before she was gaining weight on 2,000 calories a day. And as we were increasing, does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Win. It's not struggling. I'm not struggling.
Right.
It's all right. She's doing well.
And why do you think that is? What do you think happened there?
But we had a look at her bloods, and it highlighted the importance of allowing her to eat more food and to improve some of her markers and decrease sort of stress on her body, which was really cool because now we're seeing the physical manifestation of that. And we haven't even started her next diet yet.
And so those that can understand, you did this by starting with like an energy repletion phase, like a healing nourishment phase, by giving her more food first, right?
We always do that anyways. It's a rule. If someone signs on for minimum 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, she'd gone through a fat loss phase and it was very slow moving for how low her deficit was in relation to her body weight. And I was like, listen, we're not going to be able to get there by just continuing to push the deficit down.
Yeah.
The body is very used to functioning on this amount of food, and we need to get it not used to that.
Good job. That's a great win.
Danke. Thank you.
Welcome. That's awesome. And that's a clue into how you want to coach a lot of people who have been in long dieting phases. The biggest example is the studies and research on Biggest Loser contestants who had such intense deficits where their basal metabolic rates were dropped by somewhere between 20 to 40%. So the amount of calories to sustain and maintain their weight dropped. This is a normal biological survival mechanism because the organism, the human, it decreases the energy output of vital body systems from reproductive to immune to integumentary to everything. And so it does this for survival. And this is one reason we want to have a replenishment, nourishment, energy positive phase in the beginning of long-standing dieting clients. It's tricky to do the convincing and the influencing of the client who just wants to lose the weight. Otherwise, it's just a race to the bottom. A race to the bottom of like, you didn't lose weight on 1,400 calories. Now we have to take you to 1,000, to 900. It's really hard on the client. And there is no way, I can speak black and white, there is absolutely no way they will be even hitting their recommended daily intake nutrient targets on anything below 1,500 calories. So not only are they starving themselves, again, they are also putting themselves in a very large nutrient depletion. Make sure you're quite careful and you look at that. Sad cells. Yeah, sad cell, sad boy. You talk like that, why not? Draw the diagram. Sad, this is your cell, it is sad. Do you guys mind sharing in the chat or voice like one helpful practical takeaway from that we've kind of taken away from today from Kiara and I? One thing you might do more of, one thing you've kind of learned, one thing you're going to do differently. Bad day plan. Yes, Sarah, I was definitely thinking of you when we were making this. I hope this has started to build some of the foundations to be helpful towards where do I start? And if not, tell me too. Tell us.
I just wonder, like I do think it's correct, especially with the eczema stuff, but sometimes, like I think you had the testing and that like at the top of the pyramid. And I don't know, I think when people are so like chronically ill, like some of the people I deal with or me.
It goes to the bottom.
Yeah. Because it's sort of like we're not just looking at like, you know, someone who's like a little bit generally unhealthy. It's like these people are like sick. There's something underlying.
That's right.
So I wonder about the structure with my coaching, like if that would change.
Yeah.
Pyramid.
And this is where you have to use judgment. And your judgment would be triage. If urgency and symptoms are like 8 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 above, we put testing and screening higher as a priority. So your practice might involve, just like mine does, testing and blood work for most clients from the beginning.
Yeah, I feel like that's something I need to implement. And then like you said, sort of have it as like a base thing from the start. Like you need to do
your onboarding.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or like I don't really have like a system for that right now, whereas I feel like I should.
Yeah, we covered the onboarding systems from one of the last ones. So you can just set up a Notion doc of like step 1, step 2, step 3, and they can just follow that.
Can you say that again? Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, in one of our last onboarding masterclasses, remember when we did the onboarding stuff, like expectations doc and like here's your getting started Notion.
Yes.
I would just go look back on that and just create your own version of like, hey, welcome to Sarah McCurry Coaching. Here's the step-by-step to follow. Step 1, do this. Step 2, get blood work. Step 3, have fun, dance.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Easy for you, easy for them. It's predictable. Everything was amazing. I'm glad everything was amazing.